You can watch the Rebuild movies and get Bandai's Evangelion figures at Amazon at the links in the description.
Dragon Ball, horror, kaiju, and more. Steven's Toy Reviews.
Hello there, collectors. It is Steven here, and welcome to another Evangelion review, where today we're going to be taking a look. Apparently, we don't know how to count because we go from 1, and then we move on over to 0. Yep, we're going to take a look at Eva Unit 0. Pronouns, because Unit 1, Shinji's mom, 2, in Neon Genesis, Asuka's mom, so, no, we'll just keep on with her, she, okay? All right, so Unit 0 here is going to come packed with accessories, so this way you can display her in the way she appeared in 1.0 and 2.0, and you get a nice host of different weapons, so this way you can deploy her hunting down some angels and protecting your city. Now, with that being said, not necessarily the most popular Eva unit, and people prefer the blue over the yellow in some instances. So let's take a look to see whether or not Unit 0, or maybe even Rei, is worth adding into your collection. Unit 0 is basically going to be working off of the great sculpt that we saw with Unit 1. And I do have to say that generally speaking, the sculpt is fantastic. The paint application is going to be great as well. And honestly, I do think that the paint application here is nicer than it is on Unit 1. So kudos to Bandai for improving on what is essentially amazing to begin with. Now, this unit is going to be using grays and whites and nice yellows. Generally speaking, I think that this unit looks fantastic. Now, what's even cooler about this one is that we are actually going to have translucent parts for that Cyclops eye and the green on the top of the head. Not really going to be talking too much about paint errors because there's not really a whole lot going on here. Rather simple. We have a lot of plastic going on, not a whole lot of paint detail. We have the maroon, I guess you might say, and green on the shoulders, and we do have the different hand parts that do have paint, obviously, but generally speaking, in the looks department, no quality control issues. Unit 0 looks great. Unit 0's articulation, it's going to be identical to Unit 1's articulation because, well, I mean, they're reusing pretty much all the parts except for the stuff that needs to be changed. But that doesn't mean that she does not have phenomenal articulation. So, we don't have a hinged jaw, but because the head is a different shape and we don't have that big old dome thing on the back yet. So we have ball joint movement here, basically, for the head and a weird joint system in the neck, so Unit 0 can be creepy. Yeah, great movement. These shoulder pads, the pylons, whatever you'd prefer to call them, they are on small ball joints where they plug into the shoulders here, and that is actually going to be on a system as well where they can swivel around at that point of connection. You'll actually get to see that just a little bit at the swappable parts, which, since she has parts to swap over to how she looks in the first Rebuild movie, the articulation is effectively not going to change that much. We do have the shoulders, which do plug in the body on ball joints, so this way you can do that, spin them around. No blockage of movement whatsoever. Hinge at the shoulders, so we can raise and lower the arms. And then we are going to have dedicated bicep swivels, so this way we can spin the arms around. As you can see, the elbows look a little freaky here. What's going on? So, a peg that plugs into the bicep and a peg that plugs into the forearm and a single hinge. Very cool. Nice. Good movement. Now, you'll notice I have the elbow joints pulled out a little bit. What does that mean? Well, you can actually pull them out and push them back in to give the elbows a little bit better range of movement. So this way they can simulate double hinge elbows. Pretty cool. Wrists are going to be the standard style joints that you would find on humanoid figures at this price point. So we're going to have a peg where they plug into the forearm, a hinge, and then a ball joint where the hand plugs in. So swivel, hinge, basic movement, which is very good. You'll find this on SH Figuarts releases. For the body, we are going to have a ball joint up here for this portion of the torso, so she can move around and wiggle just a little bit like that. We're going to have another ball joint, which allows even more wiggle movement, and then a joint in the waist. So she can do all sorts of movement, rock from side to side. Basically, you're good to go. For the hips, an improvement over the original, I would say, though, she is going to be using the engineering from the 1.0 style Figuarts with drop-down hinges and then ball joints where they plug in, but you get free range of movement for forward and back. In terms of going out for splits, about that far, but the thigh connection for where the hips plug in, they're actually going to be on ball joints, so you get a little bit more wiggle movement, and then we do get swivels as well. Now, once you utilize those little ball joints, we don't really get that much better of splits, so that's the only unfortunate part. We have double hinge knees, great. These little doodads on the shins, those have hinges, and then the ankles are pretty much going to be unchanged from the original release, I believe, with hinges to move the ankles forward and back. We do have ankle rockers, which are amazing. Toe hinge, and then the little shields here are going to be on ball joints so you can move them around. Yeah, her articulation is great. You can put her in whatever pose you want. I don't know really what else to say aside from 2 thumbs way up. All right, time to talk about Unit 0's accessories, and what do we get? We're going to get imprisonment accessories and accessories to flat out change her appearance to how she looked in 1.0. We're going to get a full array of hand parts, which you're going to be able to see in just a minute, and we're going to be able to get that umbilical cable or cord, whatever you'd prefer, which is standard for all AVA units, along with a dedicated clip for a Tamashii support stand. We're going to get some weapons as well, which include a progressive knife, a pallet rifle, and a Gatling gun, a minigun, whatever you'd prefer to call it. And this is why I really like this figure. Let's have some fun. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and take a look at those imprisonment accessories and the parts to swap out from the 1.0 version of Unit 0. So swapping out the parts is relatively easy to do. If you need to follow along with the instructions, go ahead. But here's pretty much the overall view of that. We're going to have the chest part, which pops out easy, no issues, along with parts just above the knee to swap out to white parts as well. We are going to have changeable parts on the upper bicep near the shoulder, and then the shoulder pylons, pads, whatever you prefer to call those do pop out with ease. And overall, I think this would be enough of a justification for fans to actually buy 2 Unit 0s. We are also going to get the imprisonment parts, which the cross part there, actually, that snaps in pretty easy, but for the handcuffs, you are going to have to utilize that extended elbow joint along with really working those wrist joints in order to make it look like you have a really convincing pose there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw this video up on the screen showing you how I did that. And quite frankly, it was a royal pain to do this. I know it's sometimes difficult to, as the folks say, walk and chew gum at the same time. And let me tell you, if you've never done a review kind of like I have before, it's kind of difficult to make sure you're framing everything properly while you're fiddling around with small parts where you're popping stuff off and making sure you're not breaking anything. But let me assure you, that did not really add to much frustration in changing the parts. Even off camera, it still was. So I will say that this probably could have been engineered a little better, but once you do get this working, it is a rather satisfying outcome there, if this is what you would like. Let's just go ahead and take a quick peek at the umbilical cable. So that is going to plug into Unit 0's back, easy peasy lemon squeezy, and the cable is going to be made of a bendy wire, so this way you can put that cable into a whole bunch of different fun poses, and even if needed, she can use it as a weapon. Cool. Now, the tip of that is actually going to plug into a Tamashii support base, whether it's going to be Act 4, 5, or even one of the more fancy ones. Now, with the plug going into her back, that hole that it plugs into, that can also be a Tamashii support arm that plugs into her back as well. You will get a dedicated support clip for her, but do keep in mind that that clip is going to be made of translucent plastic. From my own experience, that is going to clip in her pelvis area between her thighs. I would say maybe don't necessarily use that because I feel that that may crack over time with repeated use. I would just use the hole in her back. Just something to really keep in mind there. So for the rest of the accessories, let's go ahead and take a look at the arsenal. So progressive knife, very cool, nice paint apps, not a whole lot else to say there. And then we are going to get the pallet rifle, which, hey, great, fantastic. I have a feeling that a lot of folks will definitely pair up with Unit 1 and Unit 0. So if you wanted to double up the arsenal, you could definitely do that. Now we do get the Gatling gun, the minigun, whatever you'd prefer to call it, and quite frankly, this is a pretty cool accessory. One of the reasons being is that the barrels on it actually spin! So if you wanted to have fun there, you definitely could do that. And it also has a... I don't know, is that a grip of some kind? That moves as well. Now, it's promoted to be used with Unit 0. I sort of binged all 4 rebuild movies. If I missed her using this, then let me know. But Unit 1 uses this. Now, I will say this much. I don't think I will have any of the Ava units using this. There's somebody else who can use it. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for the accessories section. You pretty much know what she's going to come with, and you've seen everything. So overall, I do have to say the biggest disappointment here is I do understand that they sort of have to rein it in, if you will, and we get parts here to display her from 1.0. However, the original release many moons ago also came with the bandaged arms and the missile, which would have been really cool to see here, but hopefully we'll see an accessory set which will have those included as well. But if you are looking to get support stand parts and accessories, maybe you can come up with your own display. You know I got videos to help you out. Now we'll go ahead and wrap this up with the size comparison with units 0, 1, and 2, so this way you can see how big all these Ava units are going to be with some other figures you might just have on your shelf. Like I made mention before, they're all basically going to feature the same sculpt, so they're all going to be about the same height, but it's always good to get a good idea of how big they're going to be together, especially when they all pretty much move as one unit. So buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. Unit 0 is a really nice release, and it is very complementary to some of your other Ava units you may already have, and you're kind of thinking maybe this would be a good one to get. Quite frankly, I don't think this is going to be the showstopper on your shelf, but she will be a fantastic backup unit to 1 and 2. Hope Bandai does get around to making 3, just because we have 0, 1, 2, 3. We do have 8, what is that, Gamma coming out soon. So yeah, fantastic. We'll have all of basically the main units that have been in the rebuild movie that fill that sort of main awkward design. Of course, there are the other ones and so forth, but you know what I mean. Unit 0 is a great release.
Well, collectors, that brings us to the end of the video today, and I just wanted to take a second to thank you so much for watching. Now you've heard a lot from me, I'd like to hear a little bit from you. Drop in the comments down below whether or not you liked it, you hated it, or maybe you were somewhere in between. I also want to take an extra second here for a nice, humongous thank you to all the patrons for SDR over the last month who have really helped the channel grow into what it can be today. So to all of you, 2 big thumbs up. Thank you very much. And now the end card should be popping up, which will give you a few clickable links, like maybe to subscribe or head on over to my Patreon, or some short URLs like to my social media or to my Teespring store. There's also a video I hand selected for you, so if you want to watch another STR video, I hand selected some good content for you to watch, so definitely check out that video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.